Right, for sure.
How's her?
Oh, this feels good. Come close to the fire, ladies.
I'm not cold.
Well, now, Mr. Hale, well, I want you to explain to Mr. Henderson just what you saw when you came out here yesterday morning. By the way, has anything been moved? Are things just as you left them yesterday?
It's just the same. When the temperature got down below zero last night, I thought I better send Frank out here to make a fire for us. No use getting pneumonia when you got a big case of it. Anyway, I told him, don't touch anything but the stove. And you know, Frank.
Well, somebody should have been left here yesterday. Oh, yesterday. You know, I had to take Frank clear down to the Morris Center for that man who went crazy. Anyway, I knew you'd be back from Omaha by today. So, I thought, as long as I went over everything here myself. Well, Mr. Hale, tell just what happened when you got here yesterday morning.
Well, Harry and I had started for town with a load of potatoes. As we came along the road from my place, I said that I wanted to stop and talk with John Riley about putting in a party telephone. Well, I'd asked him about it once before, and he put me off saying folks talk too much anyway. And all he asked was peace and quiet, so you know how much he talked to himself. But I thought if I talked about it before his wife, so I said to Harry that probably what she wanted made little difference to John.
Let's talk about that a little bit later. I do want to talk more of that. Tell now just what happened when you got to the house.
Well, I didn't hear or see anything. I knocked, and all was still quiet inside. I knew they must be up. It was after 8 o'clock. So I knocked again. And I thought I heard someone say, "Come in." Well, I wasn't sure. I'm still not sure. But I opened the door, that door. Here in Miss Roberts sat Mrs. Wright.
What was she doing?
Well, she was rocking. And she had her apron in her lap. She was just kind of cleaning.
Well, how did she look?
Well, she looked queer.
What do you mean, queer?
Well, like she didn't know what she was going to do. Kind of done up.
How'd she seem to feel about your coming here?
Well, she just didn't seem to mind one way or another. She just wasn't paying much attention. So I said, "How do, Miss Wright? Cold, ain't it?" "Is it?" said she. Very. Well, I was surprised she didn't ask me to come to the stove or to sit down, but just sat there, not paying any attention to me. So I said, "I came to see John." And then she laughed. I guess you could call it a laugh. Well, thinking of Harry and the team outside, I says, "Well, can't I see John?" "No," says she. "Why can't I see him?" says I, out of patience. "'Cause he's dead," says she. "Dead?" says I. She just nodded her head, went on rocking back and forth, eating at her apron. "Why, where is he?" says I. She was pointing upstairs. Like that. Well, I got up thinking I'd better go up there. I went from over there to here. And then I says, "Why, what did he die of?" "He died of a rope around his neck," says she. Well, I went up and got Harry. I figured I might need help. We went upstairs, and there he was, lying.
I think I'd rather have you go into that upstairs where you can point it all out. Just go on now with the rest of the story.
Well, my first thought was to get that rope off. It just looked, ooh. But Harry, he went up to him and says, "No, he's dead. We better not touch anything." So we came back downstairs, and she was still sitting there just that same way. "Has anybody been notified?" says I. "No," says she, unconcerned. "Who did this, Mrs. Wright?" says Harry. And he said it in a really businesslike manner. And she stopped beating her apron. "I don't know." "Well, weren't you in bed sleeping with him?" says Harry. "Yes," says she, "but I was on the inside." "You mean somebody put a rope around his neck, strangled him, and you didn't wake up?" "I didn't wake up," says she. Well, we must have looked like we couldn't see how that could be, for after a moment she says, I sleep sound. Well, Harry was gonna ask her more questions, but I thought she should tell the story either to the coroner or the sheriff. So Harry went as fast as he could up to the Rubens place with his telephone.
And what did Mrs. Wright do when she knew you'd gone to the coroner?
Well, she moved from that chair to this chair, and she just sat there with her hands together, kind of looking down. I felt like I should make some conversation, so I said I'd come to talk to John about putting in the telephone, and then she laughed. And then she stopped and she looked at me scared. Well, I don't know if it was scared. I wouldn't like to say it was. But then soon Harry got back, and then Dr. Lloyd, and you Mr. Peters came. And I guess that's all that I know that you don't know.
Well, I guess we'll go upstairs first, and then out to the barn and around there. Are you convinced that there's nothing here of importance? Nothing that would point to any motive?
Oh, no, there's nothing here but kitchen things, you know.
Here's a nice mess.
Oh, her fruit. It did freeze. She worried when it got so cold. Said the fire would go out and her jars would break.
Can you believe those women? I'll put a murder charge and worry about her preserves.
I guess before we're through here, she'll have something more serious than preserves to worry about.
Well, women are used to worrying about trifles.
And yet, for all their worries, what would we do without the lady? Dirty towels? Not much of a housekeeper, would you say, ladies?
There's a great deal of work to be done on a farm.
To be sure. And yet, I do know there are some Dixon County farmhouses that don't have such dirty towels.
Those towels get dirty awful quick. Men's hands aren't always as clean as they might be.
Loyal to your sex, I see. But you and Mrs. Wright were neighbors. Were you friends too?
I've not seen much of her of late. I've not been in his house. It's more than a year.
And why was that? You didn't like her?
I liked her well enough, but farmers' wives have their hands full, Mr. Henderson. And then,
Yes.
well, it never seemed a very cheerful place.
No, it's not cheerful, but I wouldn't say she had much of a homemaking instinct.
Well, I don't know if Wright had either.
You mean they didn't get on very well?
No, I don't mean anything, but I don't think a place would be any cheerfuler for John Wright being in it.
Let's talk about that a little later. I want to get the lay of things upstairs now.
Well, I suppose anything Mrs. Peters does is going to be all right. She was going to take in some clothes for her and some other little things. You know, we had to leave in such a hurry yesterday.
Yes, but I want to see what you take, Mrs. Peters, and keep an eye out for anything that might be of use to us.
Yes, Mr. Henderson. I hate to have men coming around my kitchen, snooping around, criticizing. Of course, it's no more than their duty. Duty's all right, but I guess that deputy sheriff that came out to make the fire might have tied it up a bit. Wish I'd thought of that sooner. It's mean to talk about her for not having things slicked up when she had to come away in such a hurry. She had bread set. She was gonna put this in there. It's a shame about her fruit. I wonder if it's all gone. Looks like there's some here that's all right, Miss Peters. Yes, here. This is cherry, too. Now, Claire, I believe that's the only one. She'll feel awful bad after all her hard work in hot weather. I remember the afternoon I put up my cherries last summer. Well, I best get those things from the front closet. You coming with me, Mrs. Hale? You could help me carry them. either. Right was stingy. I think maybe that's why she kept so much to herself. She didn't even belong to the ladies' aid. I suppose she felt she couldn't do her part. Man, you don't enjoy things when you feel shabby. She used to wear pretty clothes, be lively when she was Minnie Foster, one of the town girls singing in the choir. Oh, that was 30 years ago. This all you was to take in? She said she wanted an apron. Funny thing was that there's not much to get you dirty in jail with and so. Of course, just to make her feel more natural, she said to look over here in the cupboard. Yeah, here it is. And her little shawl. Mrs. Peters? Yes, Mrs. Hale. Do you think she did it? I don't know. I don't think she did. Asking for an apron, her little shawl, worried about her fruit. Well, Mr. Peters says it looks bad for her. Mr. Henderson can be awful sarcastic in his speech, and he'll make fun of her saying she didn't wake up. Well, I guess John Wright didn't wake when they were slipping that robe under his face. No, that was strange. Must have been done awful crafty and still. They say it's a funny way to kill a man, rigging it all up like that. That's just what Mr. Hale said. There was a gun in the house. He said that's what he can't understand. Well, Mr. Henderson said on the way out here that what was needed for the case was a motive. Something to show anger or sudden feeling. Well, I don't see any signs of anger around here. Wonder how they minded things upstairs. I hope she had it a little more read up there. You know, it seems kind of sneaky, locking her up in town and then coming out here and trying to get her own house turned against her. Miss Hale, the law is the law. I suppose it is. Better loosen up your things, Mrs. Peters. You won't feel them when you go out. She was piecing a quilt. This log cabin pattern, pretty, isn't it? I wonder if she was going to quilt it or just knot it.
They wondered if she was gonna quilt it or just knot it.
Frank's fire didn't do much good up there, did it?
Oh, no.
Well, let's go out to the barn and get that cleared up.
All right.
I don't know if it's so strange, our taking up our time with little things while we're waiting for them to get evidence. I don't see it as anything to laugh about. Well, they got more important things on their mind. Mrs. Peters, what's this one? Here, this is the one she was working on. Look at the sewing. All the rest of it is so nice and even. Well, look, it's just all over the place. What? It looks like she didn't know what she was at. What are you doing, Miss Hale? I'm pulling out a stitch or two that's not so very good. Bad sewing always made me fidgety. I don't think we ought to touch things. I'll just finish up with that. Miss Peters? Yes, Mrs. Hale? What do you suppose she was so nervous about? I don't know. I don't know if she was nervous. Sometimes I get all jittery and so queer when I just get tired. Well, I best get these things wrapped up. Wonder if I can find some string paper in that cupboard, maybe. Why, here's a bird cage. Did she have a bird, Mrs. Hale? Why, I don't know whether she did or not. I've not been here for so long. There was a man around last year selling canaries cheap. I don't know if she took one. Maybe she did. She used to sing real pretty. I suppose maybe the cat got it.
She didn't have a cat. She had that thing some people have about cats, you know, being afraid of them. My cat got in her room, and she got awful upset to take it out.
My sister Bessie was like that. Queer, ain't it?
Why, look at this door. It's broke. One hinge is broke loose.
Looks like someone must have been ruffled it.
Why, yes.
I wish if they were gonna find any evidence, they'd be about it. I don't like this place.
Well, I'm awful glad you came with me, Miss Tail. It'd be awful lonesome waiting here all alone.
It would, wouldn't it? I'll tell you what I do wish, Mrs. Peters. I wish I'd come out here sometime when she was here. I wish I had.
You're awful busy with your house and your children.
I could have come. I stayed away because it weren't cheerful. That's why I ought to have come. I've never liked this place. Maybe because it's down in the hollow and you don't see the road. I don't know what it is, but it's a lonesome place. It always was. I wish I'd come to see Minnie Foster sometime. I can see now.
You mustn't reproach yourself in the tail. Sometimes we just don't see how it is with other folks until something comes up.
Not having children makes less work, but it makes a quiet house. Right out to work all day, and no company when he did come in.
Did you know John Wright, Mrs. Peters? Not to know him. I saw him in town. They say he was a good man.
Yeah, good. He didn't drink. Kept his word as well as most, I guess. Paid his debts, but he was a hard man, Mrs. Peters. Just to pass the kind of day with him, like a raw wind that gets to the bone. I should think she would have wanted a bird. What do you suppose happened to it?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it got sick and died. You weren't raised around here, were you?
You didn't know her?
Not till they brought her in yesterday.
Come to think of it, she was kind of like a bird herself. Real sweet and pretty, but kind of timid, fluttery. How she did change.
Tell you what, Mrs. Peters, why don't you take the quilt in with you?
If I take over mine.
Well, I think that's a real nice idea, Mrs. Taylor. There couldn't possibly be any problem with that, would there? Now, just what would I say? Maybe her patches are in here and her things.
Here's something. I suspect maybe there's some sewing things. What a pretty box. Looks like something somebody would give you. Maybe your scissors are in here. Why, there's something wrapped up in this piece of silk.
That's not her scissors.
Oh, Mrs. Peters. It's the bird. Mrs. Peters, look at it. It's napped. Look at its nap. It's all upside due.
Somebody broke his neck.
Well, ladies, have you decided if she was going to quilt it or not it?
We think she was going to not.
Was that very interesting, I'm sure. Has the bird flown?
We think it's a cat got it.
Is there a cat?
Well, not now. They're superstitious, you know. They leave.
Nothing, no sign of anyone having come from the outside. They use their own rope. It would have had to have been someone who knew just the right thing to do. Well, I don't know. That's...
She liked the bird. She was going to bury it in that pretty box.
When I was a girl, my kitten, there was a boy with a hatchet, and before my very eyes, before I could get to him, if they had held me back, I would have hurt him.
I wonder how it would seem never to have had any children around. No, Wright wouldn't like the bird. A thing that sang. She used to sing. He killed that, too.
We don't know who killed the bird.
I knew John Wright.
was an awful thing done in this house that night, Mrs. Hale. Killing a man while he slept, slipping a rope around his neck, and choked the life out of him. His neck choked the life out of him. We don't know who killed him. We don't know. If there had been years and years of nothing, then a bird to sing to you, it would be awful still after the bird was still. I know what stillness is. When we was homesteading in Dakota, and my first baby died, just 2 years old. And me was no other then. I wondered when he'll be through looking for the evidence. I know what stillness is. The law has got to punish crime, Mrs. Hale. I wish you could have seen Minnie Foster when she wore a white dress, blue ribbons, and stood up there in the choir and sang. I wish I'd come over here once in a while. That was crime. That was a crime. Who's going to punish that? Oh, we mustn't take on. I might have known she needed help. I know how things can be for women. I tell you, it's queer, Mrs. Peters. We live close together, and we live far apart. We don't go through the same thing. It's all just a different kind of the same thing. If I was you, I wouldn't tell her the fruit was gone. Tell her it ain't. Tell her it's all right. Take this in to prove it to her. She may never know whether it was broke or not. Mom, if the good thing men can't hear us, would they just laugh? I mean, getting all stirred up over a little thing like a dead canary. As if that could have anything to do with, wouldn't they just laugh? Maybe they would. Maybe they wouldn't.
No, Peters, it's all perfectly clear, except the reason for doing it. But you know juries when it comes to women.
Oh,
If there was just some definite thing, something to show, something we could make a story of, a thing that would connect up this strange way of doing things.
Well, I've got the team around. It's getting cold out there.
I think I'll stay a while here by myself. You can send Frank in to get me, can't you? I want to go over everything. I'm not satisfied. We can do better.
Would you want to look at the things Mrs. Peters is going to take in?
Oh, they're not very dangerous things the ladies have picked out. No, Mrs. Peters doesn't need supervising. For that matter, the sheriff's wife is married to the law. Ever think of it that way, Mrs. Peters?
Not just that way.
Mary, the law. Well, come on over here for just 1 second, George. I think we ought to look at these windows.
oh, windows.
We'll be right out, Mr. Hale.
They're coming.
Well, Henry, at least we found out she was not going to wilt it. She was going to, what is it you call it, lady?
We call it not, Mr. Henderson.
props and set. They did a great job. And then Bill and Dee Fink are our stage managers, and you see, and Dee is over here, she's telling her right. Bill was taken off somewhere, but he was the one that was helping me sign in as you came in the door. And not only did they take on those jobs, Dee has also been our producer, so she's the one that organized everything, got all the flyers together. She's been amazing, and I really appreciate all her hard work. And then Gil is also helping and that's what he's doing in the kitchen right now. He's helping with the health manager duties, along with Lowell's wife, Twyla, who was back there. So, this is their first time, too. I mean, Lowell is new, Twyla is new, so they've all done a great job. And then I also want to thank Sue Coffin. Many of you people who are Valley players know Sue. And Sue is not able to be with us tonight, but she's been the assistant director, and she's been helping me with all the things that we've gone through this play, and she's done a great job. And then Roberta Conan had volunteered to be our mentor, and those of you who've been around theater at all in Green Valley know who Roberta Conan is. So Roberta, would you stand up? And Roberta was always there if we had any question, and she would, like, how do you make that work right? How does that scene work better? She always had some good advice, and we worked it out and made it come true. So, Roberta, my hat's off to you. Thank you very much for all you've done. And then Regina Ford helped us with our makeup. So, again, it's just been a great community of folks. And I really want to it's been so much fun. And now we're going to put you to work. As I said earlier, for the next hour, we're going to treat you to dessert. And our cast and crew is going to be circulating around, and we really want your feedback. We want to know how well we did. We want to know what we could do better. Just give us your feedback. And many of you have a lot of experience in theater, so please help us out, because, again, we're trying to learn. And then I want to also